Hello, Sail in Finland viewers. There's actually been quite an escalation of tension now recently in the Baltic Sea. So I'm today here at the Finnish Boarder Guard to try to learn a little bit what the safety situation right now is with regards to recreational boating. So with me I have Jukka-Pekka Lumilahti from the Boarder Guards, and we'll have a small discussion here about how he sees the security situation. So please, Jukka-Pekka, welcome.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Could we have a small introduction?
Yes, yes. As you said, my name is Jukka-Pekka Lumilahti. I'm head of branch of search and rescue and environmental protection here in Gulf of Finland Coast Guard district.
Okay, and what would be your responsibilities? What happens on a typical day?
Of course, I'm working at the office, but my responsible is at sea, search and rescue things, and if something environmental protection happens, then it's my duty and my responsibility for that.
So environmental protection would be like if there would be an oil spill or
Yes,
something like that?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So in your opinion now, I mean, if we look at the Baltic Sea right now from the perspective of a recreational boater, how would you describe the safety situation?
About safety situation, as you know, the Finland we have thousands of islands and thousands of inlets, and we have. If you're asking how many boats we have in Finland, you can't get the answer because nobody knows how many boats we have here. I can say that the boating is like a national hobby in Finland. It has been in decades, and it's still we are boating at the moment as in last days. So if you're asking what is the situation and is it the safe boating in Finland, I will definitely say that yes, it's very safe in Finland.
So what about then if you would be coming to Finland from, say, Germany or Denmark, and you would be crossing the Baltic? So what's the situation on international waters? Anything that you would like to point out there?
Of course, in the Baltic Sea and in the Gulf of Finland, there are a lot of traffics. There are many commercial vessels, and there are war ships and state vessels, but there has always been so. So the situation is not so different than the old days. If you're asking something, what would you like to say the voters? I would say that keep clear of those states and war vessels. So 2-3 miles, for example, it's enough. It's no need to go very near, because if you are going near, so it's not good for them and not good for you.
If it's grey, stay away.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
One thing that has been discussed quite a lot is the interference with satellite navigation.
Yeah.
So what's your experience there? Has that affected Finnish waters or the waters close to Finland in the Baltic?
Yes, we have a lot of distribution and problems with satellite navigation. If you are If it's total loss of GNS satellite system, then it's easy for you because the equipments are making warnings and so on, so you know that there are no position of the satellite at the moment. But the difference and the little bit harder things to notice if the position is not exactly the correct. It can be, for example, 200 meters away from the correct position, and if you don't notice that, it might be so that there's shallow waters and so on. In the archipelago, you notice that now there is some difference, but the open sea, there might be problems to understand that now there are problems and now there are not. And they are changing very much. So at the moment, this time, it can be exactly right position. And few seconds later, it can be something else, and then it's again the normal position. So it's not so livable as it has been in early days.
Okay, so if you notice that your position kind of jumps around in a strange way, that would be potentially an indication that there is interference.
But we recognize in Gulf of Finland Coast Guard that you have always two options to know what is your position. So the GNS satellite system is one, but then you have, for example, radar or optical instruments. So it doesn't have to be that you are only looking one system.
So you should, at least as a boater, you should have your paper charts with you, and you should be looking at the environment and not just watching the navigator.
And you should know about where you are all the time.
Right. So what then, you were saying stay away from the ships, but there are some sort of interesting things with that. So first of all, they're very fast, so it might be quite difficult actually to estimate the distance. But what's your experience? Are still the kind of the military and the state vessels, are they keeping an eye on the recreational boaters? Are they aware of our positions?
It depends. In Gulf of Finland, we have very, very heavy traffic in the open sea. So there is the east-west bound vessels. The merchant vessels are a large one, but they are not so fast. They are going about 10 to 15 knots. But then we have north-south ferry traffic, and they are going very fast. They are going speed of about 25 to 30 knots. So if you see those ferry coming, or you see the state vessels or war vessels coming in the horizon, so it doesn't take very long time when they are very near you. So keep sharp lookout all the time when you are traveling, and if it's possible, don't go the middle of the Gulf of Finland, because the traffic is much harder than the archipelago.
Okay, but what about then? I mean, at least inside the archipelago, another thing that I've noticed is that gray vessels tend to make quite a big wake. So I guess, even in the archipelago, it makes sense to at least alert those who are inside the boat that now we are going to be shaking a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. But that's the boating. Yeah. So it's the sea life, so the waves belongs to the sea. So it can be also in archipelago and the open sea.
Oh. So what about then nowadays? What would be an update now to coming to Finland from abroad? If you're not a Finnish boater, you come to Finland. So what are the formalities? So if we start with our neighbor countries, Sweden and Estonia? Yeah,
if you're coming from the Schengen area, there are no regulations, so you can come the fairway which would you like to come, and it's the free come wherever you want.
So even if you're you're not from a Schengen country. Yeah. I mean, if you have been if you checked into Europe or in Schengen, then you can come. Okay.
If you are coming from Schengen area, so you can. It's up to you where you are coming. Okay. But if you are coming outside of the Schengen area, for example, Britain, then you have to come to border checking points, and then we have now 3 border crossing points which are open for the boaters. The west, there's Mariehamn Coast Guard Station in Åland Island. It's near Sweden. And in the Gulf of Finland, there are Hanko Coast Guard Station, west side of Gulf of Finland, and then the Suomenlinna Coast Guard Station outside of Helsinki. For early days, we have also the Haapasaari and Santio Coast Guard Station, but because the war is going between Russia and Ukraine, they are temporarily closed at this moment.
So it means that you can't actually go from Finland to Russia, or you can't go to the Saimaa Canal.
Yes, Saimaa Canal, it's very hard to go. If you want to go to Lake of Saimaa, please go to Kotka or Hamina and then take the road train to Saimaa. It's much easier than the Saimaa Channel. If you want to go to Russian, it's possible, but we authorities are not recommended that you will go to Russian.
Okay, yeah. So what about then, I've heard now some more comments that it's a bit more frequent that your boats actually sort of come and check out a little bit who's coming. So if you're approached by a Coast Guard vessel, so how do you know that, you know, what they want to do? Do they want to stop you, or just coming to admire the nice boat?
Of course, it depends what they are doing.
Yes.
There might be that they are just looking at what is the name of the vessel and what is the flag,
yes.
and that's it. If they want to stop you and discuss with something about you, then they will sign the stop sign. It's a red, yellow stop, where is marked stop, and then you have to put your sail down and take the gear off and put and so on. But it depends what is the situation where you are coming from and so on.
But they will be listening. If you have VHF, they're listening on channel 16.
Yeah.
So you could ask for instructions on channel 16.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
Okay. So what about then? I mean, you're responsible for also environmental protection.
Yeah.
So what if you see something suspicious?
Yeah.
You know, if you observe something that you think, okay, is that ship letting out some pollution or something like that? What would you want a sailor or a boater to do in that situation?
If you're wondering and you don't know what is happening, you can always take contact to Finnish Coast Guard, and they are the same phone numbers, same VHF channels, which can be used if you need some search and rescue assistance. So if you are wondering, is this okay or not? Please, you can always call Finnish Coast Guard on channel 16, or you can call us. And the number is very hard, but it's to Finnish 358 and then 2941000. Maybe you.
Okay, I'll put it.
I think that
I'll add the
good.
text in. I'll do that. Okay.
And the same numbers, the same phone number is also if you need some medical advice, or you are grounded or need some search and rescue help or whatever. We have search and rescue centers in Turku and Helsinki, and they are part of the Finnish Boarder Guards. So we are making all the commands from those centers. So it doesn't matter, do you need help, or do you need advice, or are you just wondering what is going to happening here?
Okay. So anything else you would like to add here at the end?
Welcome to Finland. We have very nice archipelago, and of course shallow waters we have, but if you come to Finland, you will love it.
So I hope this, you know, if you wondered about the safety and security of Baltic Sea, so let's hope this put you a little bit at ease. So it's still very safe to come to Finland. So yes, please do. Thank you.
Thank you very much.